We've got a big lineup of speakers, so I'm going to be very, very quick. But I just want to say today, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we're trying to do. Some of us who hold these values dear, from a parliamentary point of view. Now, many of you would be aware of the bill that's been, the inquiry that's been put up by the Australian Greens, the Universal Access to Reproduction Healthcare Committee hearing that's on. They're still taking submissions. So that process is underway, but it's still really important that people put submissions into that, because my view is that's a Trojan horse. I think we all understand that. We need to hear those voices though. So go to the Love Adelaide website. There's a link there to how you put a submission in. Make sure you get that in, because that's going to be really important. People can't underestimate how important it is to have that voice. So that's a really important thing that's going on in federal parliament. I also want to talk to you today about the bill that has been put forward by myself, Senator Matt Canavan from Queensland, and Senator Ralph Babbitt from Victoria, which is the Human Rights Born Alive bill, which is a repurposed bill effectively from George Christensen MP, the former member for Dawson in Queensland, a bill which seeks to effectively compel, it's hard to say this out loud that this actually still happens in other states, but to compel doctors to render medical care to babies that are born alive at the end of a failed abortion. So it's a really, really important piece of legislation. One of the things we can say, luckily, about the appalling termination of pregnancy bill that was passed here in this state 2 years ago is one of the only good graces we can say is that was built into the legislation. So it doesn't apply here in South Australia. That was through some of the great work of David Spears and his team in the state parliament here, who made sure that was the case. But that doesn't apply in other states around the country. Places like Queensland and Victoria, over a 4-year period, the stats show that George Christensen found through the Parliamentary Library show that something in the order of 30 babies were born alive and left to die, effectively, at that time. Now, people will not believe you when you tell them that that's the case. That is the case. It's happening in other states. So we're trying to introduce this bill through the Senate to ensure that at least if this bill is passed, other states would have to follow in suit with states like South Australia, where that medical care is rendered to babies born alive as a result of a failed abortion. It also would provide some cover to states like South Australia that have actually introduced it into their own legislation as well. So it's a really important bill. It's also been pushed off to a Senate committee hearing, and so that's going to provide more opportunity to talk about this issue, because ultimately the more we're talking about these things, the more we're letting people know that these are things that are happening in our society. Many people just simply don't believe it, the better. So I want to raise your awareness of that. You may have seen on the way in some flyers with my sanctimonious face on it. I apologise for that, but there is a QR code on it, and that links you through to a petition that I'm running, an online petition which I'll present at some point. If you get that, please sign it, please join up, and we need as many voices in there as we can, because ultimately the members of Parliament in federal Parliament are going to have to make a very uncomfortable decision as to whether or not they stand for life or they do not. So will we keep pushing that through? I want to just finally finish up, because I know we've got other speakers to come, to just thank you all for coming today. Thank you for the support for this issue. Thank you for supporting Love Adelaide and the amazing work that they all do. And I will see you all on the walk.